Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wa bihi nasta'in ala umurid dunya waddin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Rabbis shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli, amma ba'd. Respectable Professor Junaidi, MPD, PhD, as one of our keynote speaker from University of Islam Malang. Honorable Dr. Hambali Jaili from Unisma University Sultan Syarif Ali, Brunei Darussalam. Respectable Professor Merit Buat, PhD, from University of the Philippines, Los Banos, Philippines. Alhamdulillah, this morning we are here via Zoom meeting and offline at the University of Islam Malang, joining International Conference on Multidisciplinary Sciences for Humanity in the Era of Society 5.0, hosted by University of Islam Malang and co-hosted by our university partners. Bapak Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, today we have three keynote presentation from Brunei Darussalam, from Philippines, and from Indonesia. And for each keynote presentation will be presented for about 30 to 40 minutes. And after that, at the end of the presentation, we will have a question and answer session. And there are about more than 300 participants joining us via Zoom meeting platform. And also joining with us students, lecturers, and faculty members via online. Bapak Ibu, our keynote presenters will be first will be from Dr. Hambali Jaili. He is the Director of International Office and Public Relations from University Islam Sultan Syarif Ali. He graduated from International Islamic University of Malaysia, PhD of Education, and he received his Master of Human Sciences also from International Islamic University of Malaysia, and his undergraduate degree program from Al-Azhar University, Cairo. So he speaks Malay, English, and Arabic very fluently. And today he will be sharing about his topic on Islamic education perspective in the era of 5.0. So without further ado, we would like to invite him to deliver his keynote presentation, and please join us in welcoming him with a round of applause for him. So time is yours, Dr. Hambali.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and my brother, Dr. Imam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina wa habibina wa syafi'ina wa maulana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. My respected Prof. Junaidi, our keynote speaker also for today, and our participants offline and online via Zoom. So first of all, it's been a great honor for me to be invited today at Unisma, one of the prestigious university in Indonesia, especially in Malang. I've been in Surabaya since Wednesday, so it's just really a good experience. This is my second trip to Malang. Last time was in 2017 when I was invited for an international conference at Batu, which is a very nice place. I like it so much. It's, kota dingin ya. But I not managed to go there for this time. I'm totally sorry to all of you, especially who's attending offline right now in front of me. I'm having back pain right now. I cannot sit for a long time. I have a slip disc, so I was thinking that if I could stand for a while, so then I have to sit down just to release this pain. So I'm planning after this, if permitted by Prof. Jun and Pak Imam, I want to go to a chiropractic therapist to have some treatment after this because it's been painful. It takes me almost half an hour to wake up from my bed every morning since coming to Surabaya. So big apologies to all of you if I cannot deliver my presentation as expected in this morning. Anyway, I'm going to present. Hopefully all of you can understand English, but I'll try to, when I have duduk-duduk with Prof. Jun, I did mention to him last night that I was quite amazed in Indonesia that they managed to, because when I came to story before starting my presentation, I want to tell some story. When I was came to Surabaya, I was invited by 3 different people. Okay. First of all, the one and only Brunei student at Unisma, Pak Irfan. Okay, he's a Bruneian but study in Unisma, so I'm very proud for him representing our country. And the other one is Brother Ahmad. He's from Sudan, so I speak with him in Arabic because I can't speak Arabic, Alhamdulillah. And the other one is Bapak, what is his name? Bapak Saiful. He's from Malang, from Unisma, also alumni of Unisma. So I speak with him in Bahasa Indonesia, even though my Bahasa Indonesia is not that good. But I'm quite amazed when I see our brother from Sudan, that he can speak Bahasa Indonesia very well, which I think is almost impossible to be happen in our country, even though we speak Malay. So I did mention to Prof. Jun that the spirit of Indonesia can be adapted to all citizens in who is living in Indonesia. So I'm really proud for all of you Indonesian. Okay, semangat nasionalisme ya betul-betul utuh. That's really proud of Indonesia. So a big applause to all of you. Okay. Okay, my topic today is preserving the Islamic education. My focus will be on Aqidah and Akhlaq in the era of Industrial Revolution 5.0 with Brunei Darussalam perspective. Okay, this is our experience, how we emerge the value of Islam in our education, even though it's all of us right now, our life is being controlled by technology all over the world. We cannot escape from that reality. I don't know in Indonesia, but in Brunei, okay, in Brunei, if someone left or forgot his or her wallet which contains money inside, right? That one is okay. That one is okay. But if we leave, we forgot to bring this one, it's going to be a big trouble. I don't know. I think it's the same thing with all of you here in Indonesia. Wallet, we left it at home. We forgot. That one is okay. Never mind. As long as we have our mobile, because with mobile we can still withdraw our money, and we can still do our transaction via online. So everything right now is being controlled by technology. That's something that we cannot run away from it. Okay, so please, the next slide. Okay, I start my slide presentation with this quotes. I log off because I'm bored, and I log back on 5 minutes later because also I'm bored. How do you understand what I'm trying to explain by these quotes? Okay, normally when we attend any conference, workshop, the first 5 minutes we're gonna starting to feel bored. That's why we check our phone, our mobile, our where are and everything. Okay. Sometimes the previous one, and then after that we feel bored. After 5 minutes we check again our phone. So that's happening in our life nowadays. As I mentioned before, that it's totally controlled by technology, especially in the 5.0 industrial era. Okay, please, next slide. Okay, this is my contents that I'm going to deliver today. So please, next. Okay, this is what happened in our life today. Okay, I don't want to go deeply into this. I think all of you already exposed with this information. The era of 5.0, what is called is Internet of Things, IoT. Okay, that is the Internet of Things. Everything is Internet. Okay, we went everywhere. We have to use Internet. That's why people is using the big business nowadays is selling data, big data. That's what we are trying to do right now. We don't sell money. We don't sell product, but we sell data. Because with data we can simply get easy money. That's why there is a lot of there. I'm sure in Indonesia there is a lot of influencer, right? YouTuber, okay? A very successful one that can get not just thousands, even millions monthly, just through technology, through data, internet, and everything. That's happening right now in our world. Okay, that's why there are so many blogs. With blog, they try to insert so many contents that make people want to see, want to watch everything they presented in the blog. So, we went to hospital right now. Okay, when I arrived in Surabaya last week, I went to Jakarta in Banjarmasin. They asked me, where is your Peduli Melindungi? They asked me for that one. I said, do I have to have that kind of application? Yes, they said it's compulsory. In Malaysia, they're gonna ask for my sejahtera. In our country, there is Burhealth. So everything is connected via technology right now. You're talking about education also. Right now, we are having conference via Zoom. So everyone from all over the world can watch us and follow this conference. That's happening in our life. We cannot, as I mentioned, a lot of times we cannot run away from all this. Okay, the insurance, banking, okay, entertainment, healthcare, okay, utilities, manufacturing, even our education. Okay, for the past 2 years, when the pandemic happened all over the world, okay, like just mentioned by Brother Irfan, he was having his class online for 2.5 years from Brunei, even though he's continuing his study here at Unisma. But with the pandemic, it makes everything speed up very fast. That's how life happening right now. Okay, please next slide. Okay, this is our progression from IR 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 until 5. The first one is only gas, and then electricity, and so on until the last one. The Internet of Things is controlling our life. When I went to Japan, I went to Japan in Tokyo. When I check in the hotel, there is no reception there, no receptionist. Everything just used digitally. Just put my passport, they will scan, then they will issue the the card, the what do you call that? The access card. Everything just done by machine right now. So there is less interaction with human being. Sudah kurang sentuhannya dengan manusia. So that's happening right now. People utilize technology digitally to the max. That is happening all over the world. I went to Japan, I was surprised. I don't have to ask for anyone. They ask me. They just simply I put my passport, and the HD will issue the access card to my room, and I only have to pay using my card, and that's it. That's how technology controlling our life nowadays. We move from the. I still remember when I was a student. I think Prof. Jun is much more experienced than me. When I study in Al-Azhar University in Cairo, back in 90s, yeah, somewhere around 95, 96, I still remember during that time, every Wednesday, I will go down, because I stay in a building, apartment, there is security at the ground floor, so everyone is there, they will receive, a postage from all over the world. So everyone is, I will ask, Pak, ada nggak? Is there my letter today from from my family? That's what happened during that time. So everyone, this is a exciting day for me. So I'm expecting this is going to be a new letter going to be sent from Brunei. That's happening during that time. But after that, as we all know, there is when the internet is the first time implementing, there is chatting, ARC. Is that right, Prof. Jun? Huh? That's the beginning. When I want to make a call, I have to go to a telecom station, because my apartment there is no telephone during that time, so I have to go 30 minutes, 45 minutes, just to make a call for 10 minutes, just to hear the voice of my parents. That's all. That's it. But today, even at this time, I can talk with my family via WhatsApp. I can make a video call, everything that I want. So everything is so easy right now. Even though I'm far away here in Malang, but I can still keep in touch with my family. That's how fast the revolution happening in our life nowadays. Next slide, please. Okay, I don't want to go into this. This is what happened. Okay, how humans works right now, rapidly changing from a human life and work, as I mentioned before. Tunggu postonya, okay. Everyone is there. I'm waiting for my postage to be sent. If no postage, I'll be sad. Nggak ada posto hari ini ya. I'll be sad. So I have to wait for next Wednesday. So during that time, there is human life and work. Okay. There is physical touch, but now it's totally different. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. So with 5.0 era, say, there is some, of course, there is a lot of positive things about this era, right? So, with 5.0 has enabled us to act immediately, quickly, and efficiently. Okay. Last week, rector of Universitas Muhammadiyah Purwokerto sent me text. He asked me for his certificate because I forgot to send him. So I just simply send him, just simply scan and email to him, or just to him via WhatsApp. That's all. So I can act immediately, quickly, and efficiently. Again, with 5.0 also enable us to minimize our error. Okay. To extract rich data that which become our human need right now. With no data, okay, for us, for your information, for us, for foreigners, they cannot buy SIM card from Indonesia right now. I'm not sure if for you knows about that, but we cannot buy and we cannot use SIM card from Indonesia. We have to register our phone first at the airport, and we have to pay for 3 million rupiah just to register. So what choice do we have? You have internet. We have to use Wi-Fi here. So I need data. I don't need SIM card right now. I just need data, because with data I can connect. I can communicate with all over people that I need to be. Okay. Also, I need the good thing of 5.0. Also, we can able to operate with the environment. Okay. And we can save also face-to-face question just like human. Like now, we're gonna have a Q&A session after this. Maybe there's some people via Zoom will gonna ask a question, like he or she is also with us inside this room. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is what happened right now. What is expecting in the world today? With the world population estimated 7.6 billion, okay? It was predicted that 50 billion electronic devices, okay, predicted to have entered the technology market. Right now, okay, I'm not sure if any one of you using iPhone. I'm not using iPhone. Just a few months back, there's iPhone 13. And then a few months later, there is 13 Pro. And a few months later, the latest one is iPhone 14. It's just like 1 month or 2 months, or maximum 3 months, they'll be another new model, and new model, and new model keep on coming. That's happening right now. So even us going to think, oh, do I have to buy this one? Because I'm sure by next month there's going to be a new model. So if I buy this one, this is going to be the old one. So that's happening in our life with gadgets, computers, laptops, mobile phones. 50, can we just imagine 50 billion devices during this era going to enter the market? So it's a big opportunities for those interested in this area. Okay. So also expected the total number of communication devices exceeded the total number of people. I'm going to show you the statistics after this. People communicating, okay, in this room, how many people are us? Estimate there is maybe 15, 20, okay? 15, 20. There is 15, 20 people inside this room. But the number of devices and gadgets inside this room is more than the number of people inside this room. Can you imagine? Even maybe, I don't know, Prof. Jun, at least he has 2 right now. Okay, Pak Imam also have 2. Maybe he has two mobile phones. I don't know. It could be 2, could be 3. I don't know. Some of you also the same. So that is happening in our life. our gadget or device is exceeding more than the number of people itself. Okay? Okay, next slide, please. Okay. This is from Brunei Darussalam perspective. Okay, I want to share with you some information about Brunei. Okay, I just want you to focus on that, the biggest number, that one, 440715. Okay, 440,715. That is the number of our population. It's a very small country. It's half, even less than half of Malang. Right? Malang is 1 million something, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So we just even less than half of Malang, Prof. It shows how small we are as a country. Okay, I want you to focus on that one. Okay, this is our, keep in your mind, that is our number of population. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is the data. This is the latest data by February 2022. Can you see that one? The number of internet users in our country is almost the same as the number of our population. Almost the same. Can you imagine that? Means almost every home, every house having their own internet access. Oh, yeah. Okay. Also, if you see internet users, the second one, the people that use the internet is 95%. 95%. So only 5%. 5% that is maybe someone is all above 70, 80s. That's all. The people that only thinking of mengaji Quran, that's all. But for the rest, that is the number. Okay. Okay. The increased number of internet users every year is more than 3,000. So when you compare with our population, that is a huge increase. We already reached 95%. So if you imagine every year, the increased number of internet users in our country is almost 1%. So in 4 years or 5 years, it's going to be 100%.
Dr. Hambali, your time is 5 more minutes left.
5 more minutes, okay. Really?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, next. You should remind me 10 minutes before, Pak Imam. Okay, this is number of internet users in our country. Okay, I want to skip this one, since I only have 5 minutes. Okay, when you're talking about 5.0 era, okay, people will ask, okay, is it mentioned in the Quran? Is it mentioned in the Hadith? Okay, can we relate it? Yes. Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam already mentioned this one a very long time ago. In the Hadith of narrated by Al-Bukhari, already mentioned that one, that the atmosphere of an era where time has become shorter, distance has shortened, communication has become closer. This is Hadith. The hour of last day will not establish until religious knowledge will be taken away, requests will be frequent, time will pass. Time, I want to focus that one. Time will pass quickly. Communication has become closer. I already mentioned about that one. But already mentioned more than 1,400 years ago by our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This thing gonna happen. So we are nearing to the judgment day, Hari Kiamat. Okay, time will pass quickly. Okay, I've been here on Wednesday, so tomorrow I'm gonna go back, inshallah. That's how fast times run at this time. Next slide. Okay, so with the technology, how are we going to balance the technology, the 5.0 era, with the Islamic perspective. How are we going to instill, okay, the Aqidah and the Akhlaq? Okay, because we're quite worried right now, especially with our younger generation. Okay, it's not easy. Okay, so we must emphasize the Aqidah. Okay, I don't want to go deeply into this because I only have 5 minutes. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. Also in the akhlaq, okay, as mentioned by Islamic scholars about this. I hope you can have my. I want to mention. Okay, this one. How we instill, how we balance the Islamic perspective, our education, current technology. Therefore, that we can negara abad kedua, we call it. Our focus is more on what? Everyone you want to do in your life, doctor, you want to, whatever you want to be. The most important have this identity, a Islamic monarchy that we call Islam, and concept of that is our fundamental things in our education. Nice, all. Whatever program that go have to even but I think same thing. I share the country that Islam Raja. Secondary year 7 to year 10. That for 5 years. Year 7, 11. Primary in level. Okay, next slide, please. Whether it's primary level or secondary level or the university level, also for us have a subject that we call, right? Islamic. Want to be a doctor? Fine. You want to take medical? Fine. But there must be a subject that's going to be taught, learn about Islamic knowledge. That's compulsory. Now, for non-Muslim, they're going to take Melayu Islam. They Islamic moral and ethics. And our system, our education system in Brunei, we have education system that must be taken. Morning, they have to go. Linear education, just like us, learning academic subjects, maths, science, all those components. But in the afternoon, they have to go for religious school. Then academic subjects such as maths, English, science, physics, economics, chemistry, biology, and everything. there is the compulsory religious education or the Act 6 2012 that ensures that all children aged 7 and above have to undertake. Those who do and their mind. So balancing academics, our have the technology at the same time it's rising this with these subjects. In conclusion, we know, as I mentioned, technology 5.0, 7, more than that, is of course going to be important, something that life. You cannot say we don't. Almost impossible. No, almost impossible. Have to live with it. Cannot compare. Cannot compare kids. Bapak enggak ada gadget. Possible. Because his era in current era is not. So, what's important? Holistic dynamic alongside that able, pious, ill, moral, and akhlaq. I think that's all for today. Hopefully that you some knowledge. If I cannot explain much further, my Pak Imam, my time is all over right now. So I'm going to pass back to Pak Imam, and thanks everyone for listening to the session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Agama Islam. Ya, children love, mengambil pelajaran dalam beraja. Rangka Islam integral yang ikan, tapi di era 4.0 di 5.0. Thank you so much, Dr. Hambali, for your presentation. Bapak Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, we have our next presentation. Will be Professor Edith Buot from University of the Philippines, Los Banos. I'd like to check whether she is here with us already. Can you hear my voice, Professor Merit?
Yes, Dr. Imam. How are you? I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Kedengeran, Mas?
Dr. Imam, can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes. Now, yes.
Okay, so
So
now I will share.
before giving your presentation, I would like to share a bit information about Professor Merit Buot. He's a professor at the Department of Human Kinetics, College of Art and Sciences from the University of the Philippines, Los Banos. He was one of the affiliate professor at the Faculty of Education. That's very relevant with our topic in the area of education. And the most important thing from her is he was one of the recipient that has been honored by award from 3 UP Professional Chair Award and for her outstanding in instruction and research. And she's very active in giving a lot of the national presentation, the keynote presenters. And today, this morning, she will be with us sharing an important topic relevant to our topic, Society 5.0, from the perspective of integration of technology, culture, and arts in our education. So we will give you time for about 30 to maximum 40 minutes, Professor Pot, for giving your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in giving her with a round of applause.
Okay, so thank you so much. And I'm happy to be back to Unisma, although I'm online. Yeah, so let me share my screen. All right. Okay. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, Prof.
Dr. Imam. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so education is considered as a great equalizer, which gives equal chance to everyone to attain good life, supposedly. There's a constant challenge for the academic institution to keep up, to keep with to society 5.0. And it's always with us. It's always with us. And going back, right, so educational innovation aims to address a range of social issues, difficulties, and problems that concern teachers, students, the dynamics of the educational system, and societal dynamics. As technological advances, as mentioned by our previous speaker, the cyberspace and the real world have to be connected to address the issues that arose as a result of the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Right. So the 4.0 push us or give us this a new chance, a new highway to go. Right. So Japan's Society's 5.0, this was discussed. It was also in an Indonesian conference where Masami in 2021 explained, navigated what is Japan's Society 5.0. So it was mentioned there that a number of human jobs will decline as current occupations are replaced by technology, right? However, in order to survive, people will have to take on new jobs. So we know for a fact, yes, we are preparing for the 5.0. We know that there would be several kind of jobs that will be replaced by automation. Okay, so they came to the conclusion that we need to master artificial intelligence, the AI, and artificial intelligence. So, however, all nations are investigating and are still investigating or are still looking at ways how to, well, prepare ourselves for the coming Society 5.0. Now, it's mentioned that the OECD, of course, I assume that everyone knows the OECD, an international organization. So this is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. and that it was working to build a better policies for better lives. So we always aim for that, a better policies that would result to a better life. So its goal is to shape policies that foster prosperity, equality, opportunity, and well-being for all. So this is the new thing, or this is the main concern of Society 5.0, society where human well-being is a priority. I think we have some participants who are putting on their microphone. Right. Okay, thank you. So how do we do this? How do we reposition ourselves? So that's a big question. How do we reposition education in order for us to be prepared for the oncoming Society 5.0? So number one, we also have to remember that our education, where we are now, education is a key driver of social mobility. So without education, as mentioned in the beginning, it's a great equalizer, and without that, without the chance, or without us doing our role, without our government doing its own role in order for us to prepare for Society 5.0, then perhaps it would not be put into good use. So let me share with you this one.
Digital transformation touches all aspects of society and of the economy, which means that now is the time to shape our digital future for a more sustainable and inclusive world. International collaboration is needed for countries to design these digital policies that put people at the center and that keep up with a fast-changing world.
Right. So OECD has that, and it was mentioned that leaders of the world, these are the key positions, authorships, right? They come together in order to, well, come up with better policies. And now, well, we are hoping to have that. We are just hoping to have that. So we're looking at education to ensure that education is not too extensive, right? So this is where authors, collaborators of every universities and institutional for education would come together. So for sharing, giving education, which is not too expensive. Okay? And next one is education should be geographically equal. It should be given to all. It should not be only for the urban people. It should not be only for the people who are living in a high-end society. Okay? So geographically equal. And all students can acquire the digital skills of the future, right? So this is what we want to have. So all the students need to acquire the digital skills. So this is what we call now as a soft skill, which is necessary for everyone to be ready for the next society. Okay, now, so the new future strategies. So what are these? So along with this, education practices need to be reoriented to be as productive as possible. So we're looking, everyone now is assessing, everyone now is evaluating, re-evaluating what kind of modality, what kind of knowledge do we give? Or do we really give knowledge to our learners and so on? So there are several pedagogies. It was mentioned yesterday with our plenary speakers, and it was well established for us, and it's already there. And what we do is for our practices to coincide, right? So moving on, for the sake that we must be preparing for the future, for people to be sustained, and as I have mentioned, for our students to encourage them to develop the soft skill. So let's moving on. Rapid development of digital computing capabilities. This is mentioned by a while ago by Dr. Haji Reynat. The Internet of Things, that's really true. sometimes we forget other things, but never to forget our cell phones, right? Our gadgets. Okay, so there are good and bad things. Now, we also want to, because of this, we also have this big data analytics. So they are there on the cloud, right? And of course, the rapid development that would go into artificial intelligence. Okay, so going into what we have seen right now is the Internet of Things, and we also have this kind of big data that is available or that would be available to us. So it's a way of how do we analyze it for the good, for the benefit of the society. So there are already countless data about what are the necessary things that would help us, or there are lists of plans in Indonesia, my country, in Southeast Asia, and in the world. So we have this on the list, but what are we doing it with now? It together, so we have the pharmacy, so we have the manufacturing companies right now. So together, we go to this phase, right? So going back, so there is one term they call disruptive technology. And this is where any completely new or enhanced technology that replaces and disrupts an existing technology. So for example, in education, what has been disrupted? We disrupted like the face-to-face, like for more than 2 years, we were not able to freely come together in the classroom. So there's a new technology coming in. So are we going to accept it? Are we going to look at it, reassess it, how it would be helping our classroom modality or our classroom technologies or our strategies, right? So this disruptive technology was actually already coined in 1997 by Clayton Christensen. He already projected that there comes a time, because at the time we had was for the Industrial Revolution, the 4.0, but he was futuristic enough, and he know for a fact that sooner there is a coming new technology. So how do we embrace it? Are we ready for it? Okay, so in our education, we know for a fact that there are really several things that are coming to us. Now, we go to my country. How is it? How is education in the Philippines? So are we prepared? Are we prepared for the society 5.0? We are not. We, as a nation, has not ventured into it yet. So we maybe are still at the 4.0, but hopefully we maximize the 4.0 so that we could be prepared to go into the door of 5.0. So our basic education development plan has this a plan for 2030. So remember the SDGs where we have planning for 2030. So we have this kind of, there are 2 phases. Let me go to that. And there are 4 pillars when they have, in considering the 2 phases of the government in coming up to Plan 2030. So the 4 pillars are still there: access, equity, quality, resiliency, and well-being. Okay, so from in the past until now and in the future, we're hoping to have these 4 pillars. We were talking about education should not be that expensive, but of course, we cannot say that it's free, right? So equity for all, that everyone has the chance to go to the university, or everyone has the chance to go to your university, and the quality education for that. So we want to compete with the world. We want to say that our graduates can compete with the world, right? And the most essential thing is resiliency and well-being. Okay, so there are 2 phases my government is looking at. So phase 1, because we call this, there was somehow a 2-year break that we were not able to prepare for that, right? For the pandemic that came to us. So phase one is 2022 to 2025. They're looking at addressing the impacts of COVID-19. But this basic education is only until high school. So this does not cover the higher institutional education. So phase two is from 2026 to 2030. So they're now focusing, hopefully, to focus on the gains and more institutionalization of education and for further initiatives. So somehow there would be 2022, 23, 24, 25, there will be 4 years of replenishing of what happened, looking at the things, the issues during the pandemic. All right. Now, how about in my university, University of the Philippines? So we have started this in 2014 when we have the Republic Act. This was acted with the government at 10-650, and we call this the Distance Learning Act in 2014. So we have one CU, we have one constituent university of the University of the Philippines. One is an open university. Okay, so it's just like in Indonesia, you also have your mega university, the open university, right? Okay, so to further democratize access to higher education by applying open learning. So this was the main goal of Distance Learning Act in 2014, to offer, to give more access to people who could not come to the university, physical university, because of the work, because of geography, so they can enroll. But of course, number one problem there, number one issue would be the internet connection, right? So that was in 2014. So years ago, before the pandemic hit our country. So what happened during the pandemic situation? It became the triggering point in the system, okay, the University of the Philippines system. So it triggered the vice rector position together with the rector's position in my university as a president. So there was a memo in 2020, it's number 68, where memorandum laid out the goals to successfully cope with pandemic. So that was sometime in March, and then April, May, June, July, August were spent for the preparation. So a lot of things came, several meetings and several webinars were done, and all of this were done in order to prepare. Okay, so the plan included the fully remote implementation by using the learning management system. Okay, so LMS. So we have that, and we delayed, because of the pandemic, we delayed the opening of the first semester. We were delayed by 2 months, I think. Yeah, 2 months, in order to ensure that quality education will still be there. Okay, so in my next one is, so several webinar designing technology supported learning were done, and course design were also done. Course design was done for all the courses that are offered in the University of the Philippines. Because unlike Open University, where they are ready, where all the courses are already on the web, already on the portal, in our case, in the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, we were not ready for that. So we had those months collaborating with our colleagues, collaborating and talking with our superiors and getting experts. And we were actually joining webinars with Malaysia, with Thailand, with Indonesia. We were also invited, and we also invite some countries to come and relearn things with us, right? Now, moving on. So we have this detailed syllabus where learning resources for a physical face-to-face situation in the past. We did not have learning resources from readings, from multimedia, resources like video lectures. Although some professors were already using previous to that, but when the pandemic hit, everything was changed. All the resources should be on a virtual world. And then we have also activities and guides, student guides were exactly done so that even without them facing me, they could understand. So it's remote learning, flexible learning was really done, was followed. So the philosophy in 2014, this is what we call the ODEL, Open and Distance E-Learning, was very helpful to us. So the different ethos were still looked at. So excellence, academic freedom, and everything there should still be present within our courses, which would be offered via the learning management system. So for 2 years, we never faced each other, except for courses that need to be on the laboratory. For example, the medical courses, some engineering courses, which need the face-to-face. But it was, the process of preparing was really long. Right. Now, moving on to my next one. Yeah, the new modality of learning, of course, it was not only us who were affected by the new modality of learning. So for students, the sudden shift to the new mode of flexible online distance learning presented also several issues and difficulties. I'm sure your students, your colleagues have a lot of narratives about that, right? So independent learning is a principle that helps us understand our learners. So because of the ODEL philosophy, we were able to navigate we call this the darkness, the time of darkness in our academia, in our institution, in our education phase, right? So, and also, I would look at the collaborative learning, which would be the best lessons that we learned through the semesters we went through. So they were not facing each other, but they have to communicate. Communication is very important, right? It's vital for our success. So collaborative learning, and one would be listening and one would be suggesting, and then we come to an agreement. So it's not easy because of the distance, but they were able to navigate, and they were able to finish it.
Prof.
Okay.
We have only 5 more minutes left.
Right, thank you. And so we have, aside from courses, we also offer our students some workshops. So here we come the cultural, the facets of our traditions were not forgotten. And so there were several, to beef up the official courses. We also offer them workshops. We come together, webinars were offered to our students in order for them to somehow remember that we have this tradition. Okay, so let me have, so we look at education as the building tomorrow's workforce, right? So education is the most powerful, we know that, we hear this from Nelson Mandela, right? Education is the most powerful weapon. So if we have a very strong weapon, which is education, then we are ready for that work, for the next phase that we are facing. So let me have this one before I will end.
Bring together policymakers and movers to discuss digital drivers of the global economy. How digital transformation can help build better societies. Digital policies that put people first. And harnessing AI and emerging technologies. Together they will set a vision for a more trusted, inclusive, and sustainable digital future.
Right, and to end is, yes, repositioning oneself. How do we rethink education in order to position oneself, right? So with that, thank you so much. And thank you for listening. And this is the background. The picture here is Mount Makiling, where at the foot of it is University of the Philippines, Los Baños. So hopefully you can come. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Merits Buot from University of the Philippines, Los Banos. Three keywords that I highlight from your presentation. How do we design our learning to be distance, remote, independent, and collaborative or collaboration? Dependent, distance learning, and collaborative learning. Again, thank you so much. We will have a question and answer at the end after our third speaker giving presentation. Again, thank you so much, Professor Buot. Bapak Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to our third keynote presenter, which is Professor Junaidi, PD, PhD. Professor Junaidi is one of the professors in the University of Islam Malang at the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education. He graduated from Monash University, Australia, and he is one of the reviewer of national scholarship organized by Ministry of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia. He is also one of the reviewer of national research competition in Indonesia, and he has published in many international reputable journals. Today, he will be giving a presentation on factors affecting the success of English language teaching. So without further ado, we would like to invite him, giving time for about 30 to maximum 40 minutes. And after that, we will have a question and answer session at the end of his presentation. Please join us in welcoming him with a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Pak Imam, Pak Dr. Hambali, and Professor Buot from the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, in the previous two presentations, we talked about education in general, and now I would like to talk about something very specific in the area of education that deals with foreign language learning or second language learning. In the beginning of the presentations, Dr. Hambali told us about his first impressions about Indonesians. When he came to Indonesia, to Surabaya a few days ago, then he met one of our international students, Ahmad, and he was very amazed. Dr. Hambali was very amazed because Ahmad could speak Bahasa Indonesia very well. And he is from Sudan. He is from Sudan. The policy in our university is that international students, before starting their academic activity, they had to join courses in Bahasa Indonesia conducted by BIPA. BIPA is a language center specializing in the teaching of Bahasa Indonesia for speakers of other language. And we are very proud that our teaching of Bahasa Indonesia is very successful because we can make international students who, when they first came to Indonesia, could not speak Bahasa Indonesia at all, but then just in a few months, they were able to speak, to communicate in Bahasa Indonesia very fluently. But the problem is that when we came to the task of teaching English for Indonesians, that's a big problem. Because, well, of course, we have some of our students could learn English just in few months, then they are quite fluent in communicating in English. But the majority of our students quite fail in their English learning. If we can see, for example, students graduating from, let's say, senior high schools. In this case, it means that they have been learning English for 6 years, formally. 3 years in their junior high school, and then 3 years in the senior high school. But then, despite their learning, their experience of learning English for 6 years, their mastery of English, their ability to communicate in English is very limited. That's a big problem then. Why could these things happen? Some of them may be successful to learn English, but then the majority of others were quite unsuccessful. That's why then, in this presentation, I would like to talk about the key determining factors behind the success or the failure in learning a new language. I've been teaching English for since 1991, so it's already about 30 years. So based on my experience in teaching English for about 30 years, then I come up with some ideas, some identifications of factors that may affect the success or the failure in learning English, particularly in Indonesia, and learning a foreign language in general, particularly English in Indonesia. Those 4 factors. Right, now the next slide, please. Okay, key factors are to be discussed. The next one. Berikutnya. Right. I put the factors in a picture, something like that, in the form of a triangle. The first is about language aptitude, or bakat bahasa in bahasa Indonesia. The second factor is learning motivation. We also have learning opportunities. And the last one, in the form of the circle surrounding the triangle, that's the learning strategies. Now let's have a look at these 4 factors one by one. Now let's start from the first one, that's language aptitude, bakat bahasa. The next slide, please. Well, everyone agrees that bakat bahasa, language aptitude, plays a very significant role in the success of language learning. But what is it actually? What is actually bakat bahasa? Apa sih bakat bahasa itu? To me, bakat bahasa or language aptitude is something innate. We bring it from our birth. So I put it in the definitions. I put it this way: that's an innate capacity to learn a new language. So bakat bahasa is working for learning a new language, not learning the first language. Because if you look at the what is it? The natural phenomena that everyone can speak their first language quite well, but then when the task comes to the learning of a new language, of the second language, then the situations can be very different. Someone may be good at the mastery of the first language, but then when it comes to the task of learning a new language, the situations can be very different. That's why then I put it that in the definitions that bakat bahasa or language aptitude is an innate capacity to learn a new language after the first language. Unfortunately, research on the area of language aptitude is not developing very well as we expect. if we look at even recent research dealing with language aptitude, it always refers to the instrument developed by Carroll and Serpent in 1959. You can imagine, 1959, when psychology, the field of psychology was dominated by behavioristic view of psychology. At that time, Carroll and Serpent says that there are 4 aspects, 4 indicators of language aptitude, whether someone has a high language aptitude or low language aptitude. The first one is in terms of the phonetic coding ability. That's the ability to identify the sounds of a foreign language and then encode them for later recall. So in this case, because the idea is that phonetic coding ability is one indicator of the language aptitude, then in the test, the students are exposed to foreign language sounds, new sounds apart from the sounds of the first language. Then they are tested whether they can recall the sound. That's the first. The second one, that's grammatical sensitivity, the ability to recognize grammatical functions of words in sentences. So the students are exposed to sentences in their first language. Then some part of the sentences are underlined or capitalized. Then the students, the test takers are exposed to some other sentences, and then the students will have to identify which part of the new sentences that plays the same functions, the same role as the word which is underlined or capitalized in the main sentence. When the students who are supposed to have a high language aptitude, they will be able to identify which part of the new sentences is playing the same role, the same functions as the word in the main sentence, which is underlined or capitalized. The next part, the next component is inductive learning ability. That's the ability to infer patterns of rules and relations between forms and meaning. So quite similar with the first one. For the first one, it deals with sound, the phonology. But then for the third part, that deals with morphology, the relationship between form and meaning. Okay, and then the last one, that's part 4, that rote learning ability, the ability to remember associations of words in native language and foreign language. So the students are exposed to words of a totally new language, just imaginative words, when they have definitions in the first language. The students are exposed to 24 lists of new words. They have to memorize just in 2 minutes. Then after 2 minutes, they are tested, those 24 new words. The number of the words that they can remember, they can recognize, indicate how high someone is in the language aptitude. Right. But unfortunately, to my personal opinion, because language aptitude is something inherited, it is unmodifiable. It's given. God gave us. That's why we cannot do anything with it. That's why we can do something for the second, third, and fourth aspects of 4 key factors. That's the second one is learning motivations, and I think we can do, as teachers, we can do something to improve the students' learning motivations. But then in that case, we need to understand what is actually learning motivations. We've got the good definitions of motivation from a psychologist. Gardner is actually a social psychologist. He defines motivation in a mathematical formula, saying that motivation is goal plus effortful behavior plus desire to achieve the goal plus attitude. In other words, the students' motivations to learn consist of 4 components: their understanding, their knowledge of the goal, and then effortful behavior, their behavior to achieve the goal. The behavior is affected by the desire to achieve the goal. The desire to achieve the goal is also affected by their attitude. So when the attitude is positive, the desire will be high. When the desire is high, they will do effortfully. Of course, they have to understand where to go. That's the goal. Brown says that the most frequently used catch-all terms for explaining the success or failure of any complex task is motivation. That's why motivation plays a very significant role in the second language learning or foreign language. In the literature of foreign language learning, we know the concept of integrative and instrumental motivation. The students are said to be integrative motivations when the learners are interested in the people and culture of the target language and want to be part of it. So the learners, the desire or the drive to learn a new language is in order to be a part of the target culture of the language. So let's say someone, for example, like in the case of Ahmad, I think he is quite successful in learning Bahasa Indonesia because he wants to be part of Indonesian. So he is integratively motivated. Another concept is instrumental motivations, that the learners learn the target language to get functional advantages from mastering the new language or the target language. For example, something to get a good job or to get a promotions in the job position or something. That's the instrumental motivation. So the students learn a new language in order to use the language to achieve something else. In the area of psychology, we get to know the concept of intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. The motivation is called intrinsic when the drive comes from within the learners. And it's called to be extrinsic when the drive comes from outside individuals. Something like the students learn hard because they want to get, let's say, prizes or something. The next part is about learning opportunities. The students with high motivations and also with high language aptitude will not be successful in their learning if they are not provided with sufficient opportunities to learn. Because the role of learning opportunities has something to do with the exposure. The amount of exposure, the level of exposure, the time of exposure. In terms of the amount, for example, and level of exposure, it has something to do with the role of input. The more language input that we get, that we provide to our students, the more likely the students will be successful. In terms of the level of exposure, we get to know, we learn the concept of comprehensible input hypothesis from Kreshens, that the good language input that we provide to students should be just one level above the current level of the student's mastery. Let's say the student's level of competence is this, then our language input, which is be provided to our students, should be only one level. Because when it is too high, the input will not be comprehensible, the students will not understand anything, so that the students will not learn anything. Then, in terms of the time of exposure, this is sometimes this is quite crucial because it has something to do with age, when the students start to be exposed to the target language. There is a big question in this case because some people believe that younger is better. The younger the learners, the more likely that they are to be successful. That's the belief of some of the common belief of people, even though research findings do not always support the claim. Well, of course, in terms of the pronunciations, yes, the belief is quite true. But in some other aspects of language learning, for example, in the cognitive learning, then the older seems to be more successful. And the last one is learning strategies that I put in the circle, connecting the language aptitude and then motivations and learning opportunities. Learning strategies is something else that which is also very significant in determining the success. Oxford defines learning strategies as specific actions taken by learners to make learning easier, faster, more enjoyable, more self-directed, more effective, and more transferable to new situations. Well, in short, learning strategies are actions taken to make learning easier and faster. I put it shortly this way. So the actions may be observable in the form of, let's say, physical actions, but sometimes the actions can also be unobservable because it takes something in the learner's mind in the form of mental processes. But the concept of learning that's why the concept of learning strategies should cover both the observable actions and the mental actions, which is unobservable. The research on the learning strategies sometimes use the underlying theory of psychology called cognitive psychology. In the cognitive psychology, there are classifications of strategies into three big categories. One is cognitive strategies, metacognitive strategies, and socio-affective strategies. We are not going to talk these three quite deeply because we are going to focus on the implications of these four on the teaching learning process. But in short, cognitive strategies is something that the students do when they are learning, and then metacognitive strategies is something dealing with the awareness of what they do, and then socio-affective strategies has something to do with the affection, emotions when the students are learning. What are the implications of these four key factors for our classroom teachings? Well, the implications that I would like to talk here deals with are derived from the three, not excluding the language aptitude, because that's something which is unmodifiable. That's why then the implications for language learning, for classroom language teachings are derived from the other three factors. I put the implications in terms of the principles. So, the first, the teaching principles related to motivations. Principle 1, for example, I put it this way: involving students in learning goal setting, because the students will be motivated when they know their learning goal. That's why then in setting up the learning goals, we need to invite the students, we need to involve the students in setting up the learning goals, in developing our learning objective, because the more the students understand about their learning objective, then the better their motivation will be. So in this case, inviting the students to develop their own learning goals will improve their intrinsic motivations. Then when teaching, don't forget to provide short-term rewards and improving awareness of long-term rewards. Short-term rewards in terms of, let's say, praises, good, excellent. That kind of praises will be very influential to the students' learning. So do not be, what is it? So we need to praise the students' work in the positive manner. Positive reward will be more influential to the students' learning. Next, principle 3, develop students' positive attitude. Make the students are interested. Develop their positive attitude. This may take the affective side, something like we need to make our students like the target language community, the speakers of the target language, or the language itself, or the instructions, the teaching learning process, or even the teacher. Because sometimes we have something like this. I don't like this language. Sorry, I don't like the people of this language, but I like the language. Sometimes I actually like the language, but I don't like the teacher. That may decrease the students' learning motivation. And then principle 4, sustain self-confidence, develop a sense of success on the students' learning. Make the students feel that they are successful learners. And then principle 5, lowering anxiety. Sometimes we use too much punishment to the students so that the students have high anxiety. The students feel anxious in their learning. Well, the relationship between anxiety and success is actually not a linear relation. The linear relation is something like this. The more anxious, then the better the students will be. Not that way, because the relationship between anxiety and success in language learning is, curvilinear. It's like a curve. The more anxious the student, the better they are, but there is a climax. There is a turning point. When the anxiety comes to this level, then the effect will be negative. So the students may be, the anxiety should be made moderate. Moderate anxiety affects positively, but then when the anxiety is high, then the effect will be negative. The next principles are derived from the factors of learning opportunities. Develop meaningful learning. So again, instructional goals should be developed on the basis of students' learning needs, so that when the goals are set up based on the students' learning need, the students will feel that their learning activity will be meaningful. Use the target language. To use English both in and out of the classroom as much as possible, so that the more we use English with our students, the more the students will be exposed to the target language. Encourage risk-taking. Hold the view that errors are not sins. An error is not a sin. That's why then encourage the students to make mistakes, because that's okay. Mistakes should be accepted, because the students will learn something from the mistakes that they make. And the last one are principles that are related to the learning strategies. We have principle 9 in my paper. that we need to design learning strategies-based instructions. So we need to train the students to use the strategies effectively. That's why then in this case, research dealing with the identifications of learning strategies is quite important. Then when the strategies are already identified, we can know which strategies are used the most and which strategies are used the least, and then we can train the student to use the strategies, particularly those which are effective. The teaching learning process, which is based on how the students learn, is called strategies-based instructions. And the last one, of course, meaningful routines are also need to be automatized to the student. The students will need to be trained to use meaningful routines, something like, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. What about you? They are just routines, but the routines are meaningful. They are quite frequently used. In that case, the students need to be trained to use those frequently used routines as much as possible, so that they are automatic. When someone asks, how are you today? I'm fine, thank you. Even though sometimes that's not good because of the, too much, training on that case, even when we are not feeling. Then when someone asks, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Then after that, we just feel that, I'm not okay, actually. The negative side. Okay, so I think those are the points that I can present in this sessions. Particularly, we are talking about the 4 key factors, but then we also talk about the principles of language teaching, which are derived from these 4 factors. Well, actually 3, because we exclude the language. Okay, thank you very much for listening and joining this conference. Back to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Prof. Junaidi. Bapak Ibu, almost 200 participants joining via Zoom, Dr. Hambali. Yes. Question already written in Zoom meeting chat. First is from Mr. Fadil from Brunei Darussalam, asking about the experience of University of Islam Sultan Sharif Ali dealing with culture shock, especially the use of technology, using internet platform as a mode of teaching. How is the experience Unisma Brunei Darussalam in dealing with culture shock but in using the Internet of Things, especially yes, especially during the pandemic. That's question number 1. Question number 2 is about SPN 21, the policy of the curriculum used in 2008. How is what we call the challenge that the government of Brunei Darussalam in the implementation of that curriculum? A question from Adil, and I saw a participant raising hand. Is Ati Umama? You can come forward and then deliver your questions.
All the audiences. I want to, Prof. Jun, related to the motivation. It's very interesting when talking about motivation in English language learning, especially. Then Prof. Jun mentioned types of and extrinsic. So according to you, Prof. Jun, which one is more influential to the success of the students' learning, either the extrinsic or the intrinsic motivation? And related to the anxiety, I once read that it is better for students to have the moderate level of anxiety. What do you think about that one? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Atik Umama, for the questions. And next question is actually from me for Professor Buot and also from Sri Chandrawati from the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education. I read it in the Zoom meeting chat. For Professor Buot, you mentioned about the dependent learning, about collaborative learning, the use of technology or teaching and learning processes. The question is, how can we still maintain the social aspect, cultural aspect, arts aspect within our teaching and process, especially the context of collaboration, collaborative learning? Looks like from my own perspective, I don't know whether this is right or wrong. The more advanced the use of technology, the more independent and the more selfish students, the more selfish the people, do not really care about other people's. But that's my perspective. Maybe that's just a very subjective perspective. So then, how can we really put our teaching strategies, activities, achieve the integration of social aspect, society 5.0 within the advancement of using of technology, the context of collaborative learning and independent learning? The more independent the students, the more independent they are doing without the need of other people. And in this case, how can we actually balance the independent aspect and the collaborative aspect? And question from one of the audience here in Zoom meeting, would it be possible, from Ibu Chandra, would it be possible for, this is outside of the context, would it be possible for doing exchange program via online platform with University of Philippines Los Banos and also Unisma Brunei? Question from Putri Chandrawati from the Mathematics Education Program. Thank you. So we'll give time for first maybe Dr. Hambali, and then the second one is Professor Buot, and then the third one, Prof. Jun. Maximum 7 minutes each, because we need to finish it 10:30. Okay. Time is yours, Dr. Hambali first.
Okay, it's not left 7 minutes. Okay, thanks. Also, thank for question regarding the first. Ask about then the challenges, cups or advantages of the challenges are using technology pandemic era. Okay. Alhamdulillah, actually there is articles where was conducted in 2020 for the challenges, negative using technology, especially during the pandemic. I could share some outcomes. Right. Answer the question. Okay. I would like to share 3 positive effects. Technology as a culture shock during that time. The first one is that a lot of us, and I'm quite sure also, we managed to learn new and good tools in a short period of time. I don't know that before a pandemic, we never heard about Zoom, sure? Google Classroom, anything else that's related to online and learning. Alhamdulillah, there is a blessing in disguise actually. The pandemic managed to learn a lot of things, new things related to the technology, fast way. That's our survey. 97.8% students agree learn new and good tools, so spending time. The second one is we managed to learn a remote learning. 97% participants agree with one. So we don't have to be at one place. Be anyway, maybe start our own car. Still, when acting our well, maybe doing those things happen. House in malls, in shops, or everywhere. Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, that's the good things about learning a new technology, and also learn work from home. This most of us like to have this kind of environment again. Even though it's not going to be every day, but once a week, I think that's going to be nice for us to have those kind of, the environment situation that we just had during the pandemic. Okay, and referring to the negative effects, of course, there is also hiccups. The first point that I could share with you, many of lecturers are not sure of the student's achievement. Cannot actually make sure whether our students should get that particular marks or not. That is our main problem with the pandemic. Could be someone is helping him or her, don't know, or maybe just do yes, friends happen. 93% participate. And also, this is, I think, most of us facing during pandemic, the increased personal data usage. Okay, we have to increase our data as experience by 400 data. Pending, I have to double 100 during the time, but now alhamdulillah down. So then company a lot of money during the pandemic. They're not helping us that much. Also, we miss control of students' participation. But this is still an area that we're facing pandemic, because during time for don't even know whether the student is following us or they just simply going around or just that. There is a case during my conducting my lecture during that. I used not close shut down my Zoom. Even after my class is already finished, I want to make sure still going to be there. So for those who still going to be there, such a long period means they must be somewhere else. So by that, cannot ask them to open the video all over the time because it costs a lot of data. That kind of situation. So that is negative parts. Talk about. Okay, and then the second question, challenges. One, I'd like to mention there is a lot of systems. One bahasa kan bersepadu tadi in quite familiar. But alhamdulillah, I spent in part of the whole approach. Also, this line our Islam also in line with wasn't or in line with. So I think that's why this system still being there. It means manage
Thank you.
hopefully by that I can.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hambali. Thank you so much. So next is for Professor Boat. It's a very short time, Professor Boat, 5 to 6 minutes maximum.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that. You mentioned about being selfish, being, well, to the point of individualistic. This is really true, right? We can also observe this with our children, with everybody in the house. So this is just a replica of what is happening now in the classroom. But I think there are always the two sides of the coin when we go into technology, right? There are always good and there are also bad. So we just have to limit the bad things. Now, number one, being selfish. I think we limited that by telling them to collaborate. So for example, in my case with my courses, like they have to produce one video for one traditional dance, for example, or any part of the culture, then it shouldn't be done by one person alone. So I have there the rubrics that they have to follow, that it's a collaborative work, and everyone, how would they know that they are helping? Well, I have also this a G form or an evaluation form where everyone has to peer review. So just like our publication that's being peer reviewed, so I also did that with my students, and that's why the time when we have our preparation for the online thing, it took us so long because we need to be careful and we need to be assured of the honesty. So it was mentioned, like it's a question of honesty is the best policy. I was always telling my students. So number one is change. We changed the evaluation model. We changed the evaluation format. So you cannot give an exam like a multiple choice because they could just go into their notes or anything that our students are so good at. So we need to be advanced, a step ahead of them. So, but then I would always say to my students that honesty is the best policy. So I believe that we are forming them. We are telling them to be like improving their soft skill, and communication is vital. And of course, there's the quality and the deliberate honesty that should be there. So, because if they will not do that, they will never be ready for the Society 5.0, which is soon coming. And of course, I forget also to mention like the independent learning there was supposedly the principle that is followed on distance learning. So independent learning means they are on their own time, they flexible learning time for the schedule perhaps, but in submitting, but flexible in the sense that they do not come to my class Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They have to do this on their own. They have to follow time management. And I believe everyone would agree that we are actually emphasizing to our students, to the classroom, that they have to have this attitude of time management. And we are actually telling them to, hey, wake up and be mature because Society 5.0 is coming.
Thank you very much, Professor Bod. And the third presenter, Professor Junaidi, respond to the Dr. Ati.
Okay, thank you. Got two questions. One is dealing with the role of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Which one is actually more influential? It seems to me that which one is more influential in the foreign language learning context, I think it has something to do with the age of the learners. I put it in a mathematical graph, for example, two axes. For the horizontal line, let's say it's called x-axis. Vertical line is the y-axis. For the x-axis here is the age. And then for the y-axis, significance of intrinsic motivation. For the age, as we know that the left side, the minimum, meaning that it's young, the young learners getting older and older to the right side. And then for the intrinsic, we put it, bottom is low and the top is high. So I think we have it this way. Young learners, for young learners, the role of intrinsic motivation is not quite apparent. So extrinsic motivation plays more role than the intrinsic. But then the role of intrinsic motivation is getting more and more significant in line with the age, development of physical age of the learners. So then when the learners are getting older and older, then the role of the intrinsic motivations is getting more and more significant. So in other words, in short, for the young learners, I think extrinsic motivations plays more significant role than intrinsic one. But then for the older learners, that should be the other way around. The learner should be more intrinsically motivated than extrinsically motivated. So I think that's the relationship between motivation, intrinsic or extrinsic, with the age. Then the next one, dealing with the role of anxiety. As I told you, when we put it in the mathematical graph, the relationship between anxiety and learning success is forming a curve. So the more anxious the learners are, the better they are. But there is a turning point. When the anxiety reaches a certain point here, the picture will be going down here. The sense that the effect will be negative. That's why then, I would rather put it this way. Low anxiety is facilitating, but high anxiety is debilitating. Low anxiety is facilitating, but high anxiety is debilitating. So it distracts the students' learning. We remember, let's say, a few years ago in Indonesia, our government used to have a policy stating that national final exam is the only measure to decide whether the student will have to pass or to fail in a certain level of education. That's why then everyone was anxious. Not only the students were anxious, even the parents were anxious, the teachers are anxious, the headmasters are anxious, the pengawas are also anxious, even the bupati is anxious at that time, because when the number of students who failed in the final exams, that will be indicate that the bupati failed, the kepala dinas failed, pengawas failed, kepala sekolah failed, teachers failed, students failed. everyone was anxious, but then some negative side comes up. Some students are cheating in the test, even the teachers provide the key answers to the students and so on. That's the negative effect of anxiety, when the anxiety is too high. Right, that's why then the moderate anxiety should be the turning point. So it's still good, but then when it comes up to the high anxiety, I think then the effect will be negative. It's good to make our students anxious, but not too anxious. Something like, okay, students, next week we will have a test. Don't forget to study hard. That's okay to make our students anxious, but not too anxious. Because when they are too anxious, the effect will be bad. Okay, thank you, Pak Imam. I think that's all, Bu Ati. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. Give applause for our three keynote presenters. There are still many questions, Dr. Hambali, Prof. Jun, and Professor Buot, including from Dr. Dia. But I will pass the questions to each of you because time is very limited. We only have 10:30, and we need to restart after this the Zoom meeting for another parallel session. So I really apologize for those asking questions via Zoom meeting platform. Also, some like Dr. Dia Wadiningse asking how, for example, the government of Dunia Darussalam implement the Islamic curriculum different between the secondary school and at university level. But that's the question. We can answer it after this.
Just question. I want to answer. Guys, online.
Yes.
I'm gonna give that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We
yes.
we
Okay.
are welcoming that proposal.
Okay,
Thank you.
Professor Buot, would it be also possible for the participant joining to initiate the collaboration of student exchange program with your students?
Yeah, sure.
Actually, we have started, right? We have
Okay.
started, right?
Okay,
We'll,
perfect.
we'll pursue with that.
Sure, thank you so much. Please again give applause. Thank you so much for very wonderful presentation from three different perspectives. And I think it's time for us to have a picture session. Can you please kindly all audience to take a turn on the video? Then we'll have a picture session together. We'll count into 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, one more. 3, smile, including the offline session. Thank you. That's all from us. We apologize for any inconvenience, but it's 10:28, which is 2 minutes the schedule this morning session. Thank you again for those coming online and offline. I hope this meeting can be beneficial for all of us. And wallahul muwaffiq ila aqwamit thoriq. Again, thank you, Professor Buot from Philippines, joining with us via online, and Dr. Hambali as well, flying far away from Brunei and come here, and Professor Jun as well. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Together, all of the participants attending online, and come forward and have a picture session with speakers. Bapak Ibu bisa foto bersama dengan Dr. Hambali dan Prof. Jun.